Death Watch.
All right, so you guys had found this odd forge room with a ghost dwarf who had modified Fenrith's sword and then disappeared. This is where you decided to take a rest. And so now here you are, having woken up refreshed and ready to set back out on your adventure. So you have this door in the north corner was the only other way out of this room.
Which map was this, Brandon?
You should see it now.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'll get up, do my routine, but with a pained expression on my face, I'll ask if Fenrith would allow me to put some stuff in the bag of holding. And I have a silk rope that I've very carefully not allowed anyone else to use. And unfortunately, that's going to have to go in the bag of holding.
Of course. I'll take the bag and hand it off to him.
And 2 pints of oil. This should get me under the weight where I don't have to drop my backpack if I want to tumble around.
Oh, okay.
The moment he puts his backpack down, I'm going to pour some of that 20 pounds of dirt that's in the bag of holding into his backpack.
You guys still haven't taken that out yet?
I honestly, I can't remember if it's still in there or not. I just know that it was in there, and I don't know if I've done anything with it.
All right. Anything else you guys wanted to do here?
I'm good to go.
Yeah, I'm good to go.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yep.
Did we already remove the hit points loss from last time for the night of rest?
Yeah, I don't remember if you guys did or not.
I don't remember doing it.
Okay.
Yeah, so go ahead and do that then for one night of sleep.
Okay. All set to head out.
I'll ask Graham if he still wants me to take the lead in here, or if he's feeling more recovered from what he saw yesterday.
I'm feeling much better, Fenrith. I think it'd be smart if I took the lead.
All right, I'll go back to my normal position behind Rohan then.
So are we going to go through the door to the northeast? Or are we going to go mess with that locked one?
I think we were going to go through the door to the northeast rather than mess with the fire door.
Didn't somebody try their medallion on this door? Is it already open?
I did.
Yeah, we got it to open.
Yeah, that's how this one opens.
Okay, well,
Yeah. Sorry, Casimir did last time he opened it and closed it.
Right, so you just got to put your medallion in and it opens up, and this is what you see, Graham. Up ahead, it branches to the left and right, but right to the left here, you can see that it ends in an obvious dead end.
okay, I'll sneak forward a little bit and look down that hallway further on.
Okay, so you can see once you get up there that it branches just one direction to your right and 2 directions to your left.
Okay, I'll slide around the corner to my right and proceed that way.
All right, yeah, go ahead and move your guy where you want to go.
And I'll peek around that corner.
Okay, so you peek around that corner and you see that it extends for a distance and then turns back in towards you on it, or towards the left. And so one thing you're noticing while you're walking through here is that the floor and the walls, they're like exactly the same color and shade, and it makes it difficult to see. There's some odd effect that you're noticing, makes it hard to see for long distances. But when you get up to here, you see it's just this short little L and then curves back up. And then Graham, roll a listen into the tower. Okay. So when you get up here and you turn around that corner, you hear a sound that you wouldn't be able to put a name to. It's just a sound that's very familiar to you. It sort of reminds you of home, like home, where your mom and your dad and your brothers and sisters lived. And some sound like the tinkling of a wind chime or something like that that sounds familiar to you. It makes you feel comfortable. It gives you a sense that you're going in the right direction, though you'd never be able to put that to word.
Okay, I suppose that will embolden me to a certain degree. So I'll still peer around corners and whatnot, but I won't move like the half speed to be silent.
Okay. All right. So now you move up there and you see that it curves around down again. Everybody put a will save into the tower, please. Okay. All right. So Graham, you get up here and you still hear that sound that I described, and so it makes you feel like you're going in the right direction. But these hallways are kind of long, and like I had mentioned, the coloration makes them seem longer sometimes, or sometimes shorter. And as you move through, you start to notice that they've changed in coloration, but so gradually that you wouldn't be able to say exactly when it happened. And it now the walls and the floor, everywhere you look, it has this odd effect where it seems to force your eyes off of it, and it's impossible to keep your eyes on any one particular place. And as you're walking through, after about what you would gauge to be about 20 minutes, you the rest of you, this goes for the rest of you as well. You now it seems like putting one foot in front of the other has become your sole focus. And then every few seconds, you'll remember that you should be paying attention to other things. But before you even know it, you're back to just worrying about putting one foot in front of the other. It's sort of like nodding off on the highway where you know you shouldn't, but you're powerless to stop your mind from going where it wants to go. And um, so the confusing effect of the coloration of the walls matching the floor so completely it's gotten to the point where you can't even pinpoint where the floor meets or the wall meets the floor. And so as you walk on, focus on just putting one foot in front of the other, now you get this feeling like you're walking through a rounded, like tubular hallway instead. And so as you go, you find yourself like bumping into walls that you should have been able to see, but you couldn't, or tripping because you're trying to walk on the corner of the wall, and it's really disorienting. And there's a part in the back of your minds that's shouting to you that something is wrong, but you can't put your focus on it. And so you just move ahead, putting one foot in front of the other, walking down these hallways, twisting and turning in so many directions that you'd never be able to find your way back now. And it's after it could be 2 minutes or 2 hours, you couldn't tell. You realize that you can't see the person who was in front of you, but as you walk along. Now, Graham, this disorienting effect is even more. You are disoriented even more so, and now you've got to a point where you're keeping your eyes closed more often than not because the scenery is so confusing. But you carry on listening for that sound, and you hear it, and so you carry on, and then you don't know how long, but suddenly you realize that that the floor and the walls are different now. Now you can sort of make out where the floor and the wall meet, and the coloration's not exactly the same, and it's so different, and your eyes were so used to the other colors that it's sort of jarring, and you stop. And as you look closely at the walls and stuff, especially the floor, you realize that the floor is made up of elven faces. So that's what you've been walking on. And they're alive, and they're all crammed and tightly packed together. And they have those looks that you've seen on some of the victims of this place, that ultimate horror. And it seems like all of them are shouting out in agony and pain and asking for help. But drawn on by the sound, you just keep walking forward. And then eventually you enter an area where now blood, you hear a trickling and then a pouring, and you can see that blood is pouring down the walls and just these sheets, and it's washing over the faces on the floor. And then you feel a drip on your head, and you look up and roll another will save.
Do you want that into the tower again?
Yes, please. Oh, nice. Okay. Well, you feel this drip on your shoulder, and you look up and you see your father, and he's attached to the ceiling by these hooked chains that are holding him. And it's your father. And you know it is. You can tell because you know his face so well. It's all weather worn and aged. And even on his hands, you can see, because he was a workman and he spent a lot of time on fishing boats and things like that. So his hands were always rough and cracked. And so you know it's his. And he's looking down at you, and it's his eyes looking down at you. You know it. You know it's your father. And he's got this expression on his face that you remember. This one time he was driving nails into some planks trying to build a step for the back of the house, and he wasn't paying attention, and he drove a nail through his hand. And you've never forgotten that. You could tell he was in pain, but he was putting his effort towards not showing it, and that's what he's doing now, looking down at you. And so as you're watching, this line appears on his chest, straight down to his navel, and it opens up like a zipper, and then just entrails and blood fall onto you and get into your eyes. But when you brush all the blood out of your eyes and open them again, the horror is gone, and you're back on just regular ground, and you're right here standing in front of a door, and you don't know how you got there.
Now, was my father alive when I left the village?
Yes.
But I see.
So the rest of you didn't. No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to ask if I could see the others around me.
Yeah. So they actually Rohan bumps into you, and he stops and he looks up in surprise, and he's like, "Oh, he mumbles or whatever." And Casimir bumps into him, and Fenrith bumps into Casimir. The rest of you didn't see anything of any such horrors. You just wandered, putting one foot in front of the other, bumping into walls. And at some point, you noticed that you could see the others around, but you didn't have the wherewithal to actually try and do something about it. You just kept moving. And so you guys come out of your fugue, bumping into each other, and you see Graham standing in front of a door. And he looks terrified. Like if it was a movie, his hair would have turned white.
What's wrong, Graham?
I saw my father. Elements, I think they killed him.
What makes you think that, Graham? I lost you for a few seconds, but we didn't see anything to suggest that.
I got confused in the halls. One minute we were in the halls, and then I was walking on the face of elves, and there was blood running into their mouths, and my father, he was chained up, and I can't think about it anymore. And I'll probably move off a few paces and hunker down and put my head in my hands and sort of rock there, mumbling to myself.
Okay. Yeah, so you guys all see Graham do that. He goes over, and he's obviously having a tough time of it. And as you're sort of snapping out of the state you were in, you realize that you are more thirsty and hungry than you can remember being in a long time.
I'm gonna go and go over to Graham, put an arm around him, and tell him that I don't like being in this place any more than he does, but I'm sure that his family is safe back in Cradle, and I'll pull out rations and some water and tell him and offer them to him. Say that it won't make everything right, but it'll make you feel a little bit better.
But how do you know that, Fenrith? How do you know that? We shouldn't be here.
We shouldn't, but we have nothing left but to press on. We can't go back the way we came because there's nothing for us there. Is the only way that we're going to get back to see our families is by continuing forward.
Brandon, does thirst and hunger pierce through the terror that Graham is feeling?
Yeah, the thirst does.
Well, I'll accept a water skin and drink from it greedily.
Yeah, while he's doing that, I'll start drinking one of those wine skins, and I'll try to get him to eat some rations too.
Okay. Yeah, so for the rest of you, it's sort of a metric for all the time you've lost, how hungry and thirsty you are. It's the only information you have available to determine how long you wandered through those hallways.
Have I ever been this hungry or thirsty?
Yeah.
What is the comparison that I could make that to as far as how long I either went without food or drink or how long I worked without food or drink?
Yeah, I don't know if you'd be able to make that. I mean, anytime you're thinking about this is the hungriest I've ever been, it's not like you got a meter that fills up to like 9.2 and you can remember it next time. You just know that it's either you worked really, really hard or you wandered around for a long time. And it's probably the second one because of how thirsty you are too. So
Okay, yeah. The idea behind that is, and I know that we've all made the comparison anytime that there wasn't really much to eat of back at the house where there was just Rice Krispie treats. So
yeah.
that's kind of the idea that I had with it.
Well, you would guess based on your thirst and hunger that you probably wandered around for at least 2 days.
Okay, I'll keep the information to myself. It's just a kind of a check for just to kind of gauge it for myself.
I'm going to be a little bit concerned by how long it's been and suggest to Casimir that he move Graham to the back with him and that I'll take the lead, but that we should push on. We need to keep moving.
I agree that we need to push on, but I don't know much of it matter. That almost has to reek of some sort of spell. Powerful illusion.
I agree, but there's nothing we can do about it now.
Yeah, and it's not going to matter where Graham is placed, or you, or me.
Well, I'm just worried about how shaken he is right now.
Yeah.
If you and Fenrith want to keep an eye on him and kind of help him through this, I can scout ahead a bit.
No, Rohan, I can do my job. I know I don't seem very much like a hero to you guys, but I'm here and I can do my job.
I'm not.
That's all we ask.
Graham, it's all right to take a few moments to gather yourself. You can take the lead again once you're fully in your senses again.
I don't know if it's all right for him to take a few moments to himself.
Yeah, I'll hand him the wine skin. Tell him that'll make him feel better.
No thanks, Fenrith. Let me take a look at this door. So I'll search the door for traps.
Okay.
And Casimir, did you see anything back the way we came?
If I gotta be honest, I didn't see much of anything. Whatever it was, I think we got lucky.
So, Brandon, when we look back down the hallway that we came through, apparently, does it have that same kind of weird effect to it?
It does. It could be 100 feet long or 20. It's impossible to tell.
Okay.
Also, it somehow manages to look like it narrows toward the end, like it steadily gets smaller and smaller and smaller.
And all of a sudden, you're back in that tunnel.
Graham, you don't detect any traps on that door, but it
Okay.
is locked.
And what kind of door am I looking at?
That's just a wooden door with iron bands. Just a regular door.
All right, I'll get out my thieves' tools and open that lock.
Okay, yeah. So it like clicks unlocked the second your tools touch it. So good job there. It's like you put your tools exactly where they need to be to open it, and then it swings open a little bit.
All right, I'll do the Graham special. Listen at the crack, open the door, and peer inside.
All right. So you don't hear anything, and you don't peer at anything. And then you're just looking at a big square room. This room is empty. That's right. There's nothing in here at all.
Absolutely nothing.
So the same flagstone of the hall that you're in makes up the floor here. The walls are smooth and straight. The ceiling's 15 feet high. The only other feature of note in this room is a door on the eastern wall where it meets the northern wall there, right in the corner. It's a really big door, extending the full 15 feet height of the room and wide enough for two people to walk through. It's made of stone with steel and gold inlays, and engraved on it in the center is a massive face. So that's what you see, Graham, from where you're at.
You say a face?
Yeah.
Guys, I think you're going to want to take a look at this.
I'll ask him, well, how big is this doorway? Can we all kind of,
No.
so I'll ask him what he sees.
Well, I'll describe what Brandon described to me.
I think that we should proceed as carefully as possible.
Do you guys remember the last door with a face we found?
Yeah, that's why I'm saying we should be as careful as possible here.
It did say that his brother was somewhere and that he would not be as nice, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, let's not go in just yet before we can think about this. As if it's anything like that thing downstairs or upstairs, wherever we are now, then the way that we want to go is behind it. Do you guys have any ideas how to, other than through, which is a good option, but any ideas on how we could get past it?
Let me show you a picture of what the face looks like.
If it's like the other thing, it warned us that it wouldn't be peaceful. So we're going to have to probably put it down, Benrick. Like most of the things in this dungeon or in this place, it needs to be put down.
So that's what the carving looks like.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely an evil thing. Well, I guess let's get as prepared as we can, and I think we're better prepared for it now than we were when we encountered the last one.
If it is anything.
I think that we should proceed as if it is, just to be safe. So I'll draw my sword and check the straps on my shield.
Just remember how the 10-foot pole got stuck to the last one.
All right. Whenever you guys are ready, do you want me to lead the way into this one, or maybe Casimir lead the way into it?
Are we planning on just charging in there and attacking it?
No, we're gonna. I would say cautiously go, but if we think that there's going to be an attack, is it the best thing to send, Graham or you walking straight into it, or would you rather that me or Casimir are the ones that get attacked first?
Honestly, I wouldn't mind going first. I can take up position on the other side of the room, but I can also follow you through and take up position afterwards.
As I'll let you decide, Casimir. As I'm okay going in first to draw any attention, but if you want that job, then
Why would you want that job? Finrith, go.
All right.
Rohan, follow him. Graham, you're after me. There you go.
All right, I'll move into the room to here.
Okay. Yeah, so now that you're in there, you can see that picture that I showed you. That's the face on the door fills you with an instinctive dread. It is familiar enough to the Minotaurs to identify that as its base, but there the similarities end. While the Minotaurs you have faced have had distinctly bovine horns, and only two of those, this one has what are better described as antlers that curve downward before rounding back up. And each one has multiple sharp tines, and in the center of the antlers is a jagged mass of horn spikes. And the face, while vaguely bovine, is skeletal with no skin appearance. So as you look at it, the eyes, though they're carved onto a flat surface, they still somehow seem to be like you're looking into a long blood-drenched cavern. They got these rubies where the eyes are, but it looks like you can see into them. So that's what that door looks like. Now, underneath the face, there is there's like this rounded section with a bunch of different shapes in it, and none of those, but they stick off of the door a little bit. None of them are touching, but that's what you see.
All right. Well, I'll give everybody a chance to get into the room before I try to do anything with it. Do we have another pole in that in the bag, Graham? Do you know?
It was just the one, but I can't remember if we recovered it from the last time or not.
We did.
Oh, okay. Yeah, if we recovered it, then I'll use it, not in the same manner that Graham would have, but I'll just use it to like poke the door like it looked like he was doing last time.
Okay. Yeah, so you pull this long pole out of the bag and you poke at that door, but all you hear is the sound of wood on stone. Nothing happens.
Can I try and jab one of those rounded parts as well, or whatever was hanging off of it on the front of it?
Yeah, nothing happens.
All right. Well, it seems like a normal door to me, guys, but good teamwork.
Yeah.
You wanna? I don't know if there's anything else that we need to do with it. Obviously, it's not one of those other things because the pole didn't stick to it like the other one. So,
Well, let me take a closer look at it.
yes, I'll give way to Graham there.
Okay.
And I'll do a search around the door.
All right, go ahead and roll your search. Okay, you don't detect any traps, but you don't see a handle or a keyhole either.
Well, guys, I don't think it's trapped, but I don't see a way to open it.
Well, as you're searching it, you notice those little shapes that stick out a little bit. You can move them, and it looks like some of them will fit together. It's like a little puzzle, and you'll just use your open lock to figure that puzzle out.
Oh, wait a second. It looks like there's some kind of puzzle on it. Let me.
All right, so you take a few of the pieces, you fit them together, and you know that this is going to take a while. Some of them are fit together, but there's a few pieces still that you got to mess with. So do another one. Yeah, so this time you're not able to get any progress. And
Would I be able to aid him in this?
if you want to, sure.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead and put yourself up there. All right, so roll to see if you aid.
Yes, I aid.
Okay.
Oh, good idea, Rohan. Let's see if it works.
All right, so with Rohan up there, he's like, hey, what about this one? You get some more of the pieces together, but it'll take, still more time. And as you are clicking that in, everybody do a spot. All right, so Fenrith and Rohan, while this is going on, you just happen to see the floor over right next to Rohan starts to move, and then the stone, it grows and takes on sort of a cube shape, and there you have. It doesn't look like a chest. That's the token I have for it. But so it's like the floor rises up and takes this vaguely cube shape. And so everybody roll initiative, and Fenrith and Rohan are not surprised. So, okay. So, Rohan, you see this happening. You can act.
All right, so I'm guessing that I would have kind of had my guard down while helping Graham with everything. So I'll take a 5-foot step back and kind of call out to everyone, look out, the floor's moving. And draw my bow. I'm not going to fire, but I'm going to have it trained on that spot.
Okay. All right. So some portion of it sort of changes shape, and it's sort of like a tendril is the best way to describe it, shoots out towards you, Graham, and it just barely misses, and it's in a blink of an eye, it's back into itself, and there's a smooth square edge, but it did shoot out at you. Fenrith, yeah, you can go because you weren't surprised.
Okay, so I apologize. What is the shape that it's taking?
It's basically a cube, a stone cube, basically.
Okay. See, give me just a second to take a look at my spell list real quick.
It looked like that part where the T-1000 disguised himself as the floor in the hospital.
Oh,
That's what it looked like here.
well, we're all gonna die. Sorry, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and just pronounce this right now.
Let's go through the motions, anyways.
All right. I'll reach over and cast Bull Strength on Casimir, and then I'll So do that, and just ready the sword and shield.
Okay. Let's see. All right. So that's the end of your turn?
Yes, sorry. Let me pull the thing up and I can end it. There you go.
Okay, Graham. Now you can act.
Okay, I'll start jockeying for position here. I'll click my heels to activate my haste boots, and I'll spend a move action to tumble around him, because it seems like with that tentacle came out, he had a good amount of reach. And then I'll spend a standard action to take total defense.
Okay. So where are you trying to tumble to?
Right there. Let me roll my tumble. I will cash in my luck of heroes.
Oh, okay.
There we go.
So I will remove that token. You no longer have luck.
And that's it for me.
All right, so you made your roll. Okay. Rohan. So
All right. So seeing this thing lash out at Graham, it's obviously become a threat. So, I'll do the only thing I really know how to do and fire some arrows at it and see if it does any damage.
Okay, but I was going to point out that you saw it lash out at Graham, so you know you're in range of it.
Yeah, I'll also like take a 5-foot step away, but
See if you can move yourself. Okay, good.
all right. So yeah, full barrage of arrows. Heading
Okay,
out at it.
all three of them hit.
Do you need those as separate attack rolls for any kind of damage resistance or anything like that? Because for that macro, I just have it set as all 3 arrows hitting, but it goes
No,
in as one.
It's fine on
Okay.
this.
But yeah,
So
I'll also call out Graham. Watch out!
okay, yeah. So you send these 3 arrows into it, and they stick in to it just as far as the broadhead. So now it's got 3 arrows sticking straight out of it. But you do hear a weird scream, like it's coming from underneath, a bunch of blankets or from a different room. So it has a weird sound to it. Fenrith, this thing will attack you.
Okay.
Hang on, give me 1 second. Okay. All right, so it hits. So this little tendril sort of just shoots out. It's like those toys when we were kids with the little hand and made out of sticky stuff, and you'd slap it on things like the window. That's sort of like that, and it shoots out and grabs a hold of you, and it will do. It does 12 damage, and so when it hits you, it's automatically grappling you. So you're grappled. So this thing it didn't shoot back into it. Now it's holding on to you. And it's your turn.
Okay.
So you can't get free while it's alive without removing the adhesive that it has on you.
Okay.
And so there's like substances that could do that, but there's nothing like that you have on you that can remove that adhesive.
So what options do I have right now then? Is just nothing?
Well, you can move closer to it. You just can't move further away.
Well, what other actions can I take?
Well, you could, I don't know. Let me look real quick. Let's see. All right. So you could activate a magic item. You can attack your opponent with an unarmed strike or a natural weapon or a light weapon. You can cast a spell. You can try to escape from the grapple, and that would be an opposed grapple check if you want to just like pull it off of you.
Okay, so I will attempt to cast a spell.
Okay, as long as it's no more than 1 standard action, and you got to make a concentration check, DC 20 plus spell level, or you lose the spell.
Okay, well, yeah, then I'm...
So what spell are you trying to
That's my turn. I was trying to do, what was that, Bless? Or, yeah, Bless. I think that's the one that for all allies. I double check it. Yeah. So that's a first level.
Oh, I got you.
So I missed it by 1. So that's my turn.
Okay. All right. Now, Casimir. So this thing's got a hold of him. It's got this tendril sticking out. What do you do?
I'll 5 foot. I'll -4 from my attack and add it to my damage.
Okay.
And I'll wield my trident 2-handed. That's my turn.
Okay. So, what? Oh, you just missed. Okay.
Yeah,
Graham.
Fail.
Bloodtooth, what do we do here? I don't know how to hurt this thing.
Bloodtooth says this thing isn't natural. Perhaps it was created by a long ago forgotten wizard.
Thanks, Bloodtooth. Sure wish I had my short bow still. I will attack defensively and aid Fenrith. I'll give him a +2 to his attack rolls.
Okay.
So yeah, Fenrith, until the until my next turn, you get a +2 on your attack rolls.
I don't have a light weapon, so unless I want to walk up and punch it and be screwed even more, then I just got to wait till either you guys kill it or it kills me.
Oh, that's true.
Well, let's see. Okay? So you're going to aid him? Is that what you said?
Well, yeah, that's what I said.
What do you want to do instead?
Well, we could put it on as AC. You think that would help you?
I'm already in the grapple. I don't know if it really matters at this point because it can. I believe, if I'm remembering right, it can just deal damage to me.
Okay, well, we'll go with it just being a tactical error on Graham's part, and we'll try something next round.
Okay. All right, Rohan, your turn.
I was trying to see if there was a way of me helping pull Fenrith off without actually joining the grapple.
Yeah, well, you could do an aid, and he could do a. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think so.
Okay. Then I guess I'll continue firing arrows at the base, trying to focus on the area right around where the thing that's grabbing Fenrith right now. Kind of try and focus right there.
All right. All right. So you've got 3 hits again. Go ahead and roll damage. All right. Yeah, 3 more arrows stick into it.
Yeah, try and cluster them right around where the base of that is. See if I can cause enough damage to that area, maybe break it off or get it to let go.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. Anything else?
No, that's my turn.
All right. Fenrith, let's do an opposed grapple. Do you see where the grapple is on your sheet?
Yeah.
Yeah, roll it into the chat. Okay. So you feel this thing constricting and take 7 more damage. Fenrith, your turn.
Try to cast another spell.
Okay.
It's I'm gonna try and use my 4th level domain spell.
Yeah, so you'd need a 24.
Okay, so I got a 30 on that.
Okay.
All right, so my base attack bonus goes to a 7-2. My strength goes to a 19, and I gain 7 hit points.
Okay.
Temporarily.
All right.
And that will be my turn.
Okay. Casimir.
All right, let's try this again here. -4 to my attack, and I will attempt to attack the mimic with my weapon wielded in both hands.
Okay, that's a hit.
All right.
So you stab this into him.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do some serious damage. You get that stuck in pretty far. Now do a reflex save.
Alrighty.
All right. So you can feel it trying to close in on your weapon, but you're able to pull it off just before it closes up.
All right. Careful when you attack it. It'll try to grab hold of your weapons or make it stick to them. Guess we already knew that, but I'll still say it. That's my turn.
Okay, Graham.
All right, we'll do the same thing as last time, only we'll give the attack +2 attack bonus to Casimir.
Okay. All right. So, Casimir, you have a +2 on your next attack.
Thank you, Graham.
Now, am I at risk? My weapon at risk? I don't know exactly what I'm doing when I'm distracting him that way. If I'm actually making effective attacks or just trying to draw his attention.
Yeah. Well, the way I've always read it is that you're doing like feints and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, I always pictured it like West Side Story when they got their knives out, kind of.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Okay, that's it for me. I'll also deactivate my haste boots.
Okay, Rohan, your turn.
All right, so once again, is there a way that I could target the actual arm or bridge that is between Fenrith and this box?
No.
Okay.
Like you can see where it leaves the cube and reaches out. Where it connects it's not constant. Like that tendril moves all around the surface. So, it's,
But I mean, like targeting the tendril itself.
yeah, well, yeah, you could do that if you want to. It's pretty thick though. It doesn't seem likely that one arrow would be able to cut through, but if you want to, you can.
Yeah, I'll be trying anything I can to get this thing to let go of him.
All right, make your attack rolls.
Do you want me to add any modifiers to the attack roll for it?
Yeah, -8.
All right. So 3 arrows coming at it, aiming for the tendril.
Okay. Yeah, so none of them hit. It's just moving around too much, and
Okay.
the arrows just fly over it.
All right. And I'm going to stay fairly close to him so that if I need to, I can, grab the back of his armor.
Okay.
But that's my turn.
All right. So it moves over here, and a little face appears, and it says, "So hungry," and it constricts on you again, Fenrith, for 6 more damage.
Do we not have to do the grapple check?
Oh, I guess we can. I just figured I'd win, so
Well, and my strength and my base attack went up.
that's true. But it does win. So you take this damage, and now it's your turn.
All right, so I'll try to do that grapple and get out of it. Or is it a strength?
Well,
Just trying to tear it off.
yeah, we'll do grapple then. Propose grapple.
It's the best I got.
Dang, almost. Do you see my roll?
Nope.
Oh wow. You got a 31,
Yeah.
and you rolled a 20, and he rolled a 19. That sucks.
All right.
If I was more merciful, I'd give it to you, but I'm not. So,
Well, it's in the
Is that-
rules, so I wouldn't want you to do that.
is that okay?
Yes.
Go ahead, Casimir.
All right. Do the same thing we did last time. -4 to my attack for power attack.
Okay.
Ah, dang it. Critical fail.
I think it's the felt that's in that chat box.
Yeah, it's not even. The chat box is uneven.
Yeah, is whoever glued the felt to that, they completely screwed it up.
Yeah. Graham, your turn.
All right, so I'll tumble up.
Oh dear.
I do provoke an attack of opportunity.
I'll take it.
But it misses you because you're just too quick.
All right, and I'll attack defensively, and yeah, I'll put the aid on Chris again.
Could you put that aid towards a grapple?
It's just on an attack roll or the AC.
Okay.
You have my aid.
Thank you.
Okay, Rohan.
All right. So seeing that it's getting closer to grabbing or absorbing Fenrith, I'm going to frantically fire more shots just directly into the base.
Okay.
Did you adjust your modifier? Oh, never mind.
So 2 of those are hits. The other was a automatic miss.
Yeah, that was
All right.
not a good round for me. But yeah, that's what that's what I'll do.
Okay. Yeah, so you stick 2 more arrows into it. And then let's do the grapple, Fenrith. And this time you won.
Woohoo!
And let's do, yeah, that's what it'll do. Go ahead, Fenrith, your turn.
Okay. So we'll try that grapple again to see if I can get out of this.
Okay. No deal.
All right, and that will be mine.
All right, Casimir, your turn again.
All right. Same thing. -4.
Well, you have a +2 though.
Yeah, I've factored it. I only -2.
Okay.
And then I'll attack.
Oh, it's a hit.
All right.
All right, so you stab into this thing really, really deep, and then suddenly it changes color from stone, and the texture there. And now it's just a mass of flesh and fluids left behind. And all of that fluid comes pouring out, and it's a lot, comes pouring out on the ground. It completely soaks you three. It even gets Rohan's boots wet, but I mean, it's all over you. And, organs of various sizes and functions come pouring out, and a huge pile of gold and gems and items of that nature come pouring out. And then this thing just sort of gooifies and starts spreading out across the floor.
Are you all right, Finrith?
I think so. That
tendril
am
is
I
it's still stuck to you.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Is it still stuck to me? And then, how can I go about getting it off?
I'll grab one end, like near where it's stuck to Finrith, and put a boot on his chest and just kind of pull, see if I can get it off.
Yeah, I'll ask Rohan to grab, get your hands in my armor and pull me back.
Yeah, I'll grab the back of his armor and pull backwards and.
Okay.
So that would have been +2 8 from.
All right.
I'm apparently disgusted and can't grab a hold.
Yeah, so +2 from Finrith, Aiden.
All right. So yeah, you grab a hold of this and you put your boot on his armor and start pulling, and it doesn't come off, and now your hands are stuck to it, Casimir. So you guys are stuck in this position. But about 30 seconds later, the adhesive just sort of dissolves, and that tendril turns into a liquidy goo and falls to the ground.
I'll kind of walk a little bit away from the puddle.
Yeah, so you're making the splash sound as you walk.
Yeah, and I'll kind of start, just kind of squeegeeing as much of this ichor off me as I can.
Okay, so you stand in the, ankle-deep, disgusting fluid and various organs of one kind or another, and treasure as well. And the basic shape this thing had is now gone, and there's just basically a puddle across most of the floor. What do?
Well, I'll start to gather up the treasure that it spewed out to put into the bag. That way, we can, if we get the chance, return to that thing and give it to it.
Okay. Yeah, so digging through all the guts and whatever, it's going to take about a half hour to get all that stuff scooped up and put in the bag. And of course, you're not able to completely clean it off either before you put it in the bag. So.
Yeah.
I guess during that time, Graham and I can be trying to figure out the door.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. So I guess while Rohan and Graham, there we go, are trying to get through the door, I'll help Finrith and with the treasure.
Okay.
But I'll also be keeping an eye out using spellcraft for spell components, pieces of the mimic.
Oh yeah. All right. Yeah, good idea.
How were we doing the ingredients gathering?
Like survival.
Yeah, could I? Yeah. Can I try and roll that and see if there's anything I can gather from it? I guess that I might need for spell or potion components.
Yeah, go ahead and do your spellcraft.
Okay.
So I believe we were doing it based on gold. I can't remember our amounts.
Yeah, we were doing it however many people you could feed with that survival roll. We're doing that in 10 gold pieces of spell materials. So if you did a roll and that as a survival roll would have fed you and 3 other people, that'd be 40 gold pieces worth of spell component.
Okay.
So however the survival rule plays it out. All right, so Ron and Graham, you guys are back at the door. Go ahead and do your open lock one more time, hopefully.
I aid.
Okay, so you put the last pieces together. They click into place, and it makes a smaller version of the large face that's on the door. But when they click together, you see this bright flare of light right in the center, and then the door slowly, each side of it slides to the side.
Thanks, Rohan. I think that would have taken me a week on my own to figure out.
Graham, you're smarter than you know.
No, Rohan. I'm as smart as I know. What?
All right, yeah. So this is about the time when Fenrith and Casimir have finished digging through all that and getting all the treasure put in the bag. So now they actually would have been waiting for you, and then you got it into place, and this door opens, and you see a large room in there. Yeah.
So, did you want me to catalog any of that stuff, Brandon?
What, the treasure?
Yeah.
No, you don't need to.
And then as far as the check that I'd made for the potion gathering, so this would be enough to, if it were the survival type check, it would be enough for 6 people? Is that right?
Okay.
Or I'm sorry, 4 people.
Yeah, so that'd be 40 gold pieces worth of components for your potions or whatever. Make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. All right. Graham, what do you do?
I will proceed into the room. Have a look around.
Okay, go ahead. All right. So here's what you see. All right. You step through the door into an environment so jarringly different from the rest of this complex thus far that you're taken aback momentarily. Beautifully polished marble floors reflect the light of the room, making it look like it might be slippery, but your boots find good traction. Bookshelves take up the majority of the wall space, shelf after shelf filled with books, scrolls, and loosely bound parchment. There is an enormous animal skin carpet, some orange and black striped creature, lying in front of a large fountain that splashes gently in the rough center of the room, and another on the opposite side from an animal no less large, but solid black in color. There are 2 wide benches on either side of the fountain, and in the lower portion of the room you see a comically large chair, and in the southeastern corner of the room a comically large bed with luxurious-looking sheets and thick blanket. There are 5 braziers spread about the room that send light reflecting off of the smooth, polished 20-foot ceiling back down onto the floor, far from the rot, decay, waste, and filth you've smelled for so long that you no longer notice it. This room smells of flowers and scented oils with the faint aroma of books underneath it. In a split second, you take this all in, and then it flies from your mind as you see the Minotaur standing across the room from you. He considers you passively, his face mostly concealed by a thick, exquisitely fashioned steel helmet that accommodates his massive horns, which themselves are tipped in sharp steel. He stands fully 12 feet tall and is encased in masterfully crafted plate armor. In his hand, he holds a long, hafted axe with an enormous half-moon blade that rests on the floor. His cloak is jet black, and it billows slightly, though there is no wind. And you notice the telltale glow of magic on his weapons and armor. As he looks at you, he slowly, deliberately begins to paw at the marble floor with his steel-shod hoof. But he makes no move towards you. Let's have initiative. Hang on, don't do it yet. How did I do that? Okay, let's roll initiative.
That's ridiculous. 3 15s and a 16.
Ridiculous.
Why you guys got to roll the same thing I roll?
It was lag, bro. I actually was rolling for you.
Okay, Rohan, you have the initiative.
So this thing hasn't actually attacked anyone yet, right?
That's correct.
He's charging up. Remember what happened to Graham when he opened that door when everything was normal. Get Graham out of here. I can't bear to see him die again.
I'm going to move up and put the fountain between me and the Minotaur. Arrows drawn, but I'm not going to fire yet.
Okay.
And I'm gonna say we don't want to kill you.
Okay. So that fountain is only sticks up out of the floor about 4 feet. So you still be able to see him, and he can definitely still see you.
Yeah, just something to kind of impede a charge is what I'm hoping for.
Ha 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 ha. Okay, Graham. Is that all you wanted to do, Rohan?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, Graham, your move.
Okay, I'll set my dodge on the Minotaur, and I'll put my hands up, and I will say, wait, don't kill me. And that's my turn.
He says, "Are you okay?"
Uh,
Okay, Casimir.
all right. I cast shield on myself, and I'll take a move action to go there, and that's
Okay.
my turn.
All right, yeah. So you haven't actually seen him yet, Fenrith.
Oh,
You can see him.
do I know that he was there?
Yeah, you know that they're talking to somebody, and you could see Rohan with his bow stalking across the room.
And Graham's sounding scared.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I guess that's still enough for me to cast shield.
Okay.
All right, I will cast divine power on myself, and then I'll step into the room.
Okay. Well, I think you just get that once, right? You already used that.
That was my domain, divine power. I have it as one of
Oh,
my
I got
fourth level as well,
Okay. Good deal. All right. So you step into there.
and I'll, as part of the move, I'll draw my sword and set my shield again.
Okay. All right. So he's still standing there passively, hasn't lifted his axe yet, and he's just tracking your movements with his eyes. What one thing of interest you notice, Rowan, is that when you moved over there and stopped, now his cloak, it's now rearranged itself and it's wrapped around so that it's billowing in between you and him a little bit. Not that it blocks your view of him, but it is something interesting.
Okay. I'll keep
But
that in
he
mind.
says, have you come in peace? And that's his turn. So what do you say, Rohan?
I say we have no quarrel with anyone that doesn't have quarrel with us.
Tell the truth. You scream, "Don't waylay me," and charge him, don't you?
That's from another turning. No, I'm going to tell him we have no desire to fight anyone. We're here to try and save some dwarves and try and get to the bottom of what's going on with our island.
All right, so he walks up to Fenrith then, and he looks you over, and he especially notices your ears, and he mutters, he whispers something under his breath, but then he drops his axe and he puts his hands out and says, "If you're peaceful, so am I. I assume that you have a story to tell, and so do I. So please come in and make yourselves comfortable."
All right, I'll sheathe my sword and sling that shield over my back there. And these are benches.
Yeah.
I'll go sit on a bench.
Okay. All right. What about you, Graham?
Yeah, I'll follow my companion's lead and sit on these benches.
Okay. Casimir?
Yeah, if I heard him, I guess I'll come in.
Yeah, he speaks pretty good common, but it does have like a sort of a dull sound to it. But he does speak pretty good common. Oh, sorry. Go backwards in time. He's speaking Elven. He's speaking your language. And he's pretty good at it, though you can definitely hear an accent. You can tell he's not a native speaker of
Well, if we were true elves, we'd correct him.
it.
I think we feel the urge to, now that
So-
everything is righting itself in the world.
Guess I'll double move and sit down on a bench.
Okay. All right. So you all sit down, and
I'm actually gonna stay standing and kind of pace back and forth along this
Okay.
back edge of the room.
all right. He produces some cups and hands one to each of you. They're U-sized cups that he takes out of a cabinet next to the bookshelf and fills with some ale on a barrel that's next to his bed. And then he goes and he spins this giant chair around and he sits down. He rests the axe up against the arm of the chair there. And he says, "My name is Nazus Vo Nazus. What are your names?"
I am Fenrith, hero of the flame.
I am Casimir, hero of the stone, or the rock.
I am Graham, hero of the sea.
And I am Rohan, hero of the sky.
So he looks at each of you in turn as you give your name, and he has sort of a intrigued expression on his face. And then he looks like he wants to say something, but he stops himself and thinks for a moment, and then he begins again. And he says, "Interesting place, is it not? Tell me, have you begun to notice the oddities? Have your minds allowed you to grasp them and hold them tight? Or have they simply slipped away as sand in a clenched fist?" And as he says this, he's like really animated too. He really uses his hands to talk, and it's sort of disconcerting because he's so huge and he's got these, giant steel gauntlets with ridges on them, and he's waving them around, casting shadows on the floor from the light. "How long have I been here? I cannot say. I have wrested many answers from the strong box of the ether, but not that one. 100 years? 1,000? 10,000? I cannot say, but whether it be the first or the last, I can say it has been too long by far. How long have you been here?"
Well, we don't know exactly, but it's been about, 10 days? Does that sound
Yeah,
about right?
that's about what you would figure. Not accounting for however long you wandered in the hall. It would seem like about 10 days.
Yeah, so about 10 days is as best as we can, as best as I can recall. How did you end up in this room for so long?
All right, so he thinks for a long time after you ask him that. So long that you start to wonder if he didn't hear you, but then finally he speaks and he says, "For a time I was just as all of the others you have met. You see, they do not understand their own imprisonment. They go about their business day in and day out. They fight for territory, raid for slaves, take prisoners to torture, yet they have not recognized that they are trapped in a cursed realm fashioned from a mind more cruel than even Baphomet's. You guys," he says, "you killed many on your way through here, yes?
Yes.
Within a week, they will all be back, and none of them will have the slightest inkling that they were dead, nor of all the times they have died. They will launch attacks on foes they've killed and been killed by 1,000 times, 1,000 times 1,000. You see, this whole place is a maze of the mind and the soul. But minotaurs do not get lost in mazes. Well, I did, as did my companions, who remain so. I know not what made me special compared to them. I remember that I commanded them before this place, but the memory is so faded that now I cannot trust that it is a real memory and not some fantasy I concocted in my own desperation. They do obey me, that much is certain, the other minotaurs. One day, I don't know how long ago, everything started to feel familiar to me. Over time, I pieced it all together with the jagged remnants of memories I was not supposed to retain. When I finally realized what had been done to me, oh, Oh, you should have seen my rage. I raced through this entire realm and rent asunder all of its inhabitants, my fellow prisoners. I lost count of how many I killed and how many times I killed them, but eventually I realized that my rage would never quiet. It would never be quenched by the blood of those also under the effects of this cruel joke. Then I knew only despair and came to envy my fellows, for at least they are spared the knowledge of their state, and I wished to return to that ignorance if I could not escape. Eventually, I found this room and took it as my own, though it looked different then. Over time, I realized that was simply the power of thought. I could change things. Small things at first. I could turn a floor tile a different color or change what it was made from, but eventually my strength grew and I made what you see here. And he points at all the books. Says, I have read uncounted books and grown my mind far beyond anything I might have achieved before this. I have even learned magic. But for all the power I've gained, I would trade it all for escape, even if that escape was simply a final death. I long to feel real grass beneath my hooves again, to thunder across a plain and feel the ground shake beneath me. I long to sink my axe into an enemy that will not rise again. And I long to speak to a person whose utility and company has not been exhausted by 1,000 conversations. I know not who you are, but I know that none have ever made it all the way to me, and so I desperately hope there is something special about you. And I know that you bear the marks on this door here, and he points over to the eastern wall, which I have never been able to open by any means, mental, magical, or physical. So when you look over at that door, you can see that it's got 4 indents with the familiar by now engravings of each of your sigils inside. Anyway, this tale took him a long time to get through, so he takes a big long drink from his massive cup and then he just stops and waits for you to speak.
Well, Nazuth, I think that today your prayers have come true. As we've seen doors like that before, and we've been able to open them.
So you say that and he jumps up so quick it startles you. And he's got this fire in his eyes and he's like, well, open it up. Let's see if it leads us out of here.
So when he hops up like that, and just because of his size, my hand will shoot to the hilt
Yeah.
first,
Oh.
and then
All hands twitch towards weapons.
yeah, and then kind of relax, and I'll give a look towards my companions and start making my way over to the door.
Okay.
And I'll pull out my symbol of my office and place it in the door.
All right. What about the rest of you?
I kind of wanted to ask him a few more questions before we push forward.
Well,
Go
let's
ahead.
ask from a place of gratitude rather than a place of imprisonment.
Have you heard anything beyond the door? What was his name? Nazuth?
Yeah,
Nazus.
Nazus?
Nazeus.
Okay.
No, I've never heard anything. I've bruised myself trying to force it open. I've cast every spell I know. I've bent all of my mental energies on it, and it remains the one barrier to me in this whole place.
There could be greater dangers beyond the door. What of the other locked door? The one that burned Graham on the when he touched it. Do you know of that door?
Oh yeah, I put that there. It's meant to keep people out.
What's in there?
Well, a maze that some wandered into and have never wandered out of. A maze of my own design. Surely you must have come through it to get here.
Well, we
No.
found another one of these doors.
Yeah, we
And-
came by other means. I'll give
Yeah.
Fenrith a look.
It's very interesting. I don't know another way you might have come.
Unfortunately, we've been so turned around in here that I think we could describe to you its location.
At any rate, it means nothing to me.
Graham And Rohan, do you have any other questions before we open this door?
I'll ask him if he knows who imprisoned everyone here or if he remembers much from his previous life.
To the first, no, I have no idea. And to the second, I have memories of raiding parties and war and battles, but it's been so long that I can no longer be sure that they're real memories and not just fantasies in my mind trying to distract me from this place.
I'll ask him to describe his home beforehand. I'm trying to lead to see if he came from Cradle in the past or if this is drawing people from other realms or things of that nature.
Yeah, so his home, he says, was a vast, endless ocean of grass, a massive plain that stretched as far as one could wander. That
And
doesn't sound familiar to you.
I'll ask him if he remembers how he entered this maze.
He says that's the worst part of it. I don't. I just, one day, and when I think back, one day I was here and everything here made sense to me and it felt to me like I was supposed to be here.
All right. Satisfied with at least that much, I'm gonna help open the door.
Okay.
Zeus? I was
Yes.
wondering, how many pounds of food do you eat in a day?
Yeah, he laughs at that. And then he leans down a bit and he says, I don't eat. It's not necessary in this place. Haven't you realized that yet? You, of course, have not realized that yet, but that's what he says.
Oh, I hadn't realized that. I've been hungry quite a few times, it seems like.
He says, I seem to have a memory of a massive plains animal that was covered in really thick wool on its front side, and it had pretty small horns, especially compared to mine. It could run really fast, it could jump really high, and they were notoriously mean-spirited and grumpy. But I could usually eat one of those at a good feast, if that answers your question.
I think so. Thanks. How about we get this door open, huh?
Yes, please. Open the door. I'll cover you. So he hefts his axe. He goes over to the bed and he puts a massive backpack on, checks some pouches at his belt, and then he motions for you guys to carry on.
I guess I'll shrug and nod to Fenrith and take
Yeah,
my
so-
amulet off.
Okay.
I'll insert mine into the engraving and step back and so that the others can access their engravings as well.
All right. Okay. So you place your medallions on the door, and as they click into place, you feel a rough power surge through you, straightening your posture and cording your muscles. If any of you have ever touched an electric fence, that's what it feels like. It flows through you until you begin to hear cracks and creaks from your bones, and then it is gone as abruptly as it began, and the door slowly slides backward and then to the left.
I'll step to the side and kind of half turn towards the Minotaur and extend my arm out in the direction of the now open door.
No,
Say, you waited so long to see.
He shoos you guys first because he's going to have to really struggle to get through that door. So he says, "You guys go. It's going to be difficult for me to squeeze through here."
Oh, it wasn't an invitation for him to go. It was just so he can see what was on the other side first.
Oh yeah, he can see. Because he's 7 feet taller than you. So.
Oh, there's that. Yeah, so I'll start through.
All right. So you step onto soft grass and smell sweet, fresh air. Though clearly it is a room with boundaries, it feels like you are outside, which has been a long time for you. Sunlight shines down from above, though there is no sun, and trees rustle in a slight breeze. flower petals float gently on that breeze, broken free from bushes that grow in rows next to large trees. So it's a real beautiful scene, and it's not just a few flower petals. It looks like, I mean, it's sort of like it's raining these pink and red flower petals, just sort of gently falling to the ground. And in the center of the room, roughly, a stone pedestal stands alone, simply fashioned and unadorned by decoration. So yeah, this guy, he starts what are clearly curses, but in a language none of you understand. And you hear the scraping of steel against the stone. But eventually he pulls his bulk through here and just wanders around. And he spends a lot of time stomping his hooves into the grass and smelling the air. So on top of the pedestal is a round stone plate with a lifelike image of the island of Cradle, surrounded by the endless ocean. And then the pedestal has a hollowed out space for that plate, but the plate is sitting askew. And underneath that plate, where the plate would rest, is an image of 4 figures situated around the pedestal, with all 4 of them pressing the plate into place.
Okay. Is there a way to retrieve the amulet without the door closing?
Well, you're gonna have to try.
Well, yeah. I'll try to recover.
Oh yeah, you can get
Okay. Yeah.
They-
So.
Yeah, you guys got him back. It didn't stay in the door.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I had a different image of that. Is there any symbols or anything to identify in that diagram where we're supposed to be, like which one of us is supposed to be in which position, or does it just the figures all holding it?
Yeah, it's just the figures all holding it. There's nothing to give any more specific idea.
Okay.
I'm going to be doing something very similar to what the Minotaur is doing, just enjoying the fact that I'm not in an enclosed cage for a few moments.
But you are.
Yeah, this is still a prison.
But there are trees and plants and life.
I'm gonna ask Casimir what he makes of it, because it looks like we need to correct the angle, or we need to center this plate. But what do you think the consequences are?
Yeah, so like when Fenris starts talking to me, I was kind of just standing there with my eyes kind of closed, letting the breeze kind of, just enjoying it. And so I couldn't say for sure on that. Perhaps it's a representation showing us that our world is askew, but I don't know if that's actually what it is. Right? That's what you were asking?
Yeah. No, that's about the same thought that I had with it as well. As I just wonder what the ramifications of us
Well,
attempting to straighten that is really going to be.
if what Volster said was true, this will either send us to another dimension. If this is in fact the pedestal, they'll send us to another world, or it might realign our world with the others and bring, start merging them all back into one.
I don't know which one I hope for more. I definitely don't relish the idea of such a jarring shock to the town and all the people that we know back home. But I'm also fearful to be teleported or be shifted away from the only world that we know.
Well, we need allies. Our small village isn't enough. And Zenvex he is more knowledgeable than us. Perhaps if we begin to bring these other places back, or if we merge with them, or where this works, perhaps we can find allies that are just as knowledgeable, if not more.
Yeah, you remember our masters said not to go after Zenvex until the worlds were one.
That's true. I had forgotten that letter. Are we? I know that this is the labyrinth, but do you think that we're ready for this?
I don't think we have much of an option. I believe we're at a do or die moment.
Well, we should press on. So,
As-
Graham, come take a look at this.
All right, I'll wander over there and examine it.
I'll warn Nazus
Yeah.
that we're going to attempt something, and he should be prepared.
Okay, yeah, he's been looking at it too, reasoning it through, and he seems to have at least an idea of his own. So he steps up, and he'll be behind you guys as you stand around the pedestal.
I'd like to hear his ideas on it. He seems very knowledgeable of magic and whatnot.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing.
Well, I'm afraid that I've never seen anything like this before, but this is a room purpose made. That's for sure. And there is this pedestal here, and there is this one section that's askew, and I don't see any other way to proceed than to make things right.
I
And
agree.
it makes as much sense for that to be the key out of here as anything else.
I'll direct Graham to take up where my old position that I just moved from, and then I'll call out to Rohan and tell him that we need him to join us.
I'm going to act like I had completely forgotten that everyone else existed and that I'm surprised that there are people behind me. So I'll kind of snap out of just, wandering through running my hands through the grass and that kind of stuff and say, what are we doing? What's going on?
You need to join us at this pedestal. We're going to attempt to get us out of here,
Okay.
and then I'll explain, what this the diagram that's here and what our thoughts are behind it.
So I guess that makes about as much sense as the rest of this.
And give everybody a final look, and I'll just start putting my hands onto the plate as in the diagram and tell everybody to follow along, and that we're going to straighten the alignment of this plate and get it into its proper place.
Yeah, I'll put my hands on it right after Finrith does.
Yep, same. I'll follow their lead.
Same.
All right. So, Rohan and Graham, as you reach your hands forward, Nazus he puts his hand on each of your shoulders, and you push the plate into position, each of you having a hand on it. As it falls into place, bright light flares underneath it, spilling around its edges, and then suddenly the light is blocked as the plate falls into place, and the edges seem to fuse with the pedestal itself, and in only a moment, it seems to be all one piece. Then, as when opening the door, some power surges through you, tightening your muscles and standing you up straight. You can hear the sound of screaming, but you can't tell if it's coming from yourself or your companions or both. The world begins to shake. It shakes so violently that you begin to see double images when you look across the pedestal at your companions. You're vaguely aware of pain in your shoulder where Nazus grips you with his massive gauntleted hand, but no matter how hard the world shakes, you are unable to move your hand from the pedestal, and you don't fall. After a time, you cannot begin to guess how long, a bright flash of light sweeps through the room and washes over you, and then everything goes black. All right, so you slowly, the world comes back into focus and color returns, and you find yourself in this room here that you have been in before. Now, Nazus, he's all crunched up because the ceiling's real low, so he's like bent in half over Casimir, and he's throwing up, although not on you. And he's obviously disoriented. For the rest of you, you feel a little uncomfortable, but not as bad as him. And so you remember that this was the first room you had come to after leaving the dwarven forge.
I'll ask Nazus if he remembers this area.
He just shakes his head, but whether that's to answer you or because he's in the middle of throwing up, you can't tell. But he's not offering any information. It seems unlikely because he doesn't fit in here. So he's going to have a heck of a time getting out of here.
I'll explain that behind him, that is the entrance that we used to get to wherever he was. But there's a door back there, and when we opened that door, there were minotaurs behind it. I just don't know if you would want to try and go that direction, because if you do, you'll end up back in that labyrinth. The way out, though, is this door, and I'll point to the door behind Graham.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, he shakes his head and says he'll never go back in there. Ever.
He said that, actually, I'll do it in character. You said that Minotaur can't be fooled by a labyrinth, right?
Yes, that is true.
Can you tell if you are in a labyrinth? I mean, what?
No, I'm not. No, we're not in one.
I wonder what quantifies a labyrinth. Let's get out of here.
He said, You posed an interesting philosophical question. I'll have to think about that when we get out of here.
How do you feel?
Are you asking him that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he says I feel terrible.
Mm-hmm.
I've never hurt that bad in all my life. Any of them.
I wonder if it was because you were bound to the...
Well, it also could be it could be from catching the tail end of the outside edge of the teleportation too.
Oh.
Before we leave, we still have a small order of business with another creature just down this hallway, and I'll point to my left. If you guys want, I can go in and deliver the goods to it.
I think we should all go just in case more of those spider things appear.
That's true.
Yeah, I didn't think about that.
I guess if Zeus wants to try to fit down that hall, he could open up the hero room for him, and he can rest in there.
Yeah, that's true. I'll let him know that there's a room that's that is clean and comfortable up ahead that you can rest in if you'd like to. It might be a little bit of a squeeze to get you in there, though, or you can wait for us here. Our business, I hope, won't take too long.
He says, "No, I'll stay here and wait.
Okay.
I'll wait." That hallway doesn't look too accommodating.
So, is he actually hurt?
No, not anything that you can see.
Okay.
Doesn't have any visible wounds.
Well, do you guys? I would rather not stay in here too much longer. But Graham, out of cautiousness, do you want to lead the way in the event of any traps or unseen dangers that you would have a better chance of finding than me?
Yeah, sure. Brandon, I'll treat it as though it's my first time through here.
Okay.
And lead us to the trapdoor.
Okay. Yeah, so go ahead and make your rolls then.
Was that 2 doors? That one down there? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And then on the trapdoor.
All right. So yeah, you don't find any traps as you go.
Did that thing down there tell us what its name was? Does anybody remember?
I don't remember. I don't think
It
so.
didn't.
Okay.
All right. So yeah, there's no traps on any of the doors, and they're not locked.
All right, I'll pull open the trapdoor and make my way down.
I'll follow behind him. I will warn him, don't go into the room this time. Let's do our business from the hallway.
Okay, Fenrith. Do we have to give him the ruby? That thing was incredible.
Well, we made a deal.
Okay.
We can ask him though. So once we get to this hallway here, I'll call out and tell him we're back to honor our agreement.
All right. So he morphs out of the treasure chest shape and becomes like a he's pretty big, like the other one was, but he takes on more of a flat two-dimensional shape rather than a cube. So he would just take up like 2 squares instead of 4. And then there's a face on the front, vaguely, a vague face. But he says, "Aha! You kept your end of the bargain. I have to say, I didn't expect that. Tell me, have you brought much treasure?"
Well, I don't know what you would consider much. It seems like a ton to me, though. And I'll start getting some of that stuff out of the bag of holding, just like by the handfuls.
Yes, please dump it all out in front of me.
So I'll go ahead and pull out all of it, and with the ruby being last, and set it down in a pile.
Okay. So you're pulling out coins and golden chains and cups and whatever, and you're dumping it in there's no visible change to the face, except when you're about done, it starts to look a little crestfallen, if you can imagine a stone face looking that way. But then, like, it lights up with glee when it sees a particular piece, and it is this section about 3 feet long of a rod of some sort. It doesn't have any features on it. It's just a section of a rod, and you can tell that it's been broken. And he points. He even hops a little bit, which shakes the floor and sends dust everywhere. That one. And a little tendril comes out and points to it. And then he spits. He makes like this coughing noise, and he spits out a piece onto the floor, and it's all covered in slime or whatever. But it's clearly the top half of a rod, and you can see where it's broken that the two would fit. And he says, "Please put that together. Put that together."
Okay. Yeah. So I'll stop pulling stuff out then, and go ahead and grab that section and join it to mine, or the other one that we have.
Right. Okay. So you put those two together, and then immediately it slides into place, and there's a flare, and it vibrates, and then just like that, you can't tell that it had ever been broken. The top half of it. So it's about the whole thing is like 6 feet long, and on the top of it is and it seems to all be made out of gold, but the top part of it's got a lot of gems set into it, and it widens out at the top, and it creates sort of like it looks sort of like a claw at the top. Anyway, so that happens when it's complete, and then this red light starts to coalesce in that claw, inside that claw. It starts out as a little bead, and then it starts getting bigger and bigger. And then when that light reaches the confines of the tines, then it stops growing. And now in the center there is just this glowing red ball of energy that floats inside there. And then it flares, and the light encompasses this mimic completely. And it gets so bright that you have to actually close your eyes. And then a few minutes after that, not minutes, moments after that, the light dies away. And where the mimic was is now a naked man laying in the muddy ground. And he's not conscious.
All right. Sorry. Go ahead.
Well, one thing you notice right away is that he's clearly past middle age, but you wouldn't call him old. He's just, a little bit past middle aged. So his hair is graying at the temples a little bit, and his beard has got some specks of gray in it. And what?
Is this actually a human?
Yes, that's what I was about to say. It's a human.
Okay.
So you notice that he's built more broadly, a little bit taller, and a little more muscular, and his ears are not pointed like yours. His eyes don't have the angle to them. But there he is, laying unconscious in the mud.
All right. Forgetting any concern that I had that since there's a unconscious being here, I'll move in and just check to make sure that he's still alive.
Yeah, you pick up a strong pulse.
Okay. I'm gonna try and wake him if I can, gently.
Yeah, so just with the basic, you're not able to. The shake him, slap him a little, and he doesn't wake up.
I'll ask these my companions here. What should we take him into the room, the room that we rested in?
I don't see why not.
Okay.
We probably shouldn't leave him down here till we know who or what he is. Those spiders could come back and eat him.
Yeah. I'll ask for some help then getting him picked up.
I'll wrap him in my cloak and pick him up.
All right, so he doesn't wake up when you guys are doing this, but you do notice that as you start moving him, his hand just shoots out and grabs a hold of that staff. But then after he got a hold of it, it's as if nothing ever happened. He's still passed out, but he's got it in an iron grip.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll if he's able to actually hold it, I'll try and tuck it into his arm there so it's somewhat stabilized as we're trying to move him.
Okay.
All right. Then we'll move back towards the room. Now, how far into this treasure I guess did I get everything pulled out before that staff came out? Okay.
Yeah.
I'll tell Graham take the ruby, and when he wakes up we will ask him if you can keep that for in trade of the medical care that I'm going to give him.
Okay, you don't think he'll be mad?
Well, we're not going to take it. We're just gonna you're holding on to it until I'll give him some care, and when he wakes up, we'll ask him if that's a fair exchange.
Holding on to it. My master taught me those words.
All of a sudden, all the other treasure disappears in the room. I'm gonna hold on to these too.
But wait, didn't he say he couldn't leave the room?
We're gonna give it a try, I guess.
Okay.
Maybe he wasn't a man before, though. As this is maybe that's what was holding him here.
It could be another shape he's taking. We don't know.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, well, we'll try to get him past the hallway here. It could have also been just a sheer size thing too. I don't know if he would have fit through any of the openings before.
Okay, I'll pick up that ruby and put it in my backpack and follow these guys as they carry him.
All right, so you're taking him to that room?
Yeah.
All right. So as you walk by, we'll just keep using this as his thing because I'm lazy. As you walk by, you see that Zeus is just sitting cross-legged on the floor.
As we're going by, I'll let him know that we're putting this person in here to recover, but there's food in here. Do you want some food?
Meat,
Okay.
please.
And so after we get him into one of the beds, I'll ask, or as we're doing that, I'll ask Rohan if he can take a bunch of meat out to Nazuth.
Yeah, I'll start carving some off that. Was it ham that was there?
Yeah.
And then probably 2 or 3 times I'll kind of look at the pile of meat that I have and judge that it's not big enough and add more to it.
You're gonna need the bag of holding.
Okay.
I'll ask him. I'll stick my head out the door after I put the guy down on like one of the beds. I'll ask if his appetite has returned.
Most certainly.
I'll nod and go back in the room.
Having heard that, I'll add more meat to the pile.
I believe that means we're actually out of the labyrinth. That this area isn't part of it.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm picking up too, which is a wonderful feeling being out of that. But we'll situate this guy, and then hopefully we have what we need to make it. I can't remember the name of the thing now.
Which thing?
We were supposed to go through the labyrinth, and then we were supposed to travel out further than anybody had ever traveled before to find
Penance.
Yeah, that's it. Isles of Penance.
Okay. So Nazus thanks you, Rohan, when you bring him the meat.
Better fill some something for him with that the wine that we got here that's overflowing too.
Yeah.
All right. So Rohan, when you get to here, you hear a noise, and where did you go? You look and see that door opened there, and you see a very familiar sight. This was that one that hit you guys with the cone of cold. So he's really big. He's just not as big as Nazus, but he just sort of pops into existence there where he is after he opened the door. And he looks at you and he winks and laughs as he darts through and disappears. So that's what you see. Now, Nazus, he's there, and he saw that too. So you saw his hand reach for his axe real quick. But then that thing was gone so fast that he's still just sitting there. And he starts cursing, you can tell, even though you don't speak the language. But he says, I know that one. How did he get out?
Perhaps he was in the room with us when we teleported out of there.
It has to be. That's the only thing I can think of. There's no other way he could have got out of there.
Right now, I'm like, I probably have both arms full of slices of meat.
Yeah.
So I'm going to tell Nazus to take as much as he'd like, and we can keep an eye out for the enemy while he eats.
That was Breekirk, and he's my most hated foe within that prison. He's crafty, that one. Cunning.
I'll say yes, he narrowly escaped us while we were in the labyrinth.
Or did you narrowly escape him?
Well, he hit us hard, but I believe we were well on our way to defeating him when he fled.
Well, he's out now, and he'll cause trouble. Mark my words. He'll find a way to cause trouble. Anyway, thanks for the food. So he takes that and starts chowing down. He said, I feel like I haven't eaten in 10,000 years.
I'll kind of chuckle at that.
Yeah, so there you go. Just a reminder, when you walk into that room, you get that feeling of, that wellness and comfort you get from that room. And this human, he's still just snoozing, but he won't let go of that staff. And Nazus takes any food or drink you bring him, and he consumes it but he's always polite and thanks you for it.
So after letting this guy, I'm going to give him a little bit of time to rest. I'm just going to also check him over and see if there's any damage that I can see what has been done to him or find.
Okay. Yeah, roll a heal check. All right, so you're looking at him, looking for any visible wounds or whatever, bruising, that sort of thing, but you don't find anything that would explain why he's unconscious. He doesn't have any wounds that you can determine.
Could I do a knowledge arcana to see if there was any magic that I'd heard that I could recall reading about that would change somebody into a mimic like that?
Yeah, go ahead.
It's just not in the cards for me here.
Yeah, so you don't, I mean, magic is magic and who knows what it can accomplish. It's not insane to think that somebody can be transformed into something else.
Well, I would say, talking to my companions now, is that whatever that spell was that returned him or made him into human here, just took it out of him, and he just needs some time to recover. I would not be opposed to spending a night here to kind of regroup and gather ourselves before we press on our journey. As long as you guys are okay with it, and of course, if Nizuth is okay waiting for us before we press on, I just think he needs some time to rest.
I'd like to stay here and rest, but I'm feeling pressed for time again. I feel like being pressed. I'll leave it up to a vote, I guess. If Graham and Rohan wish to stay here, we can. But if not, I say we fashion a litter and drag this. He's not an elf. I don't know what he is.
Okay. What say you, Graham and Rohan?
Well, I think we ought to fashion a litter. It doesn't seem right that we rest in here and we leave Nazus out there.
I'm going to be making trips back and forth to get more meat and wine for Nazus as much as he wants, but when I come back in, I'll mention that the ogre mage or the thing that had escaped us in the labyrinth followed us out and just fled down towards the old dwarven keep.
Oh no. Okay.
Yeah, Nazus named him Breekirk. And he said Breekirk the ogre, so now you know what they're called.
Yeah, that changes my mind. I say we definitely need to go after him.
Yeah, because we're gonna have to. So, you want to give me a hand? I imagine that we can probably try and use either some of the chairs in here. The table might work, or we could try and fashion one out of the bed.
Yeah, I say we just kind of.
I think the table would probably work best, because it's already flat and might be long enough. We would just need to secure something to it so that we could carry it more efficiently.
Or we could just take a bunch of bed sheets.
Oh, do like a hammock sling?
Not even that. Just essentially, I'm just going to be dragging them.
Oh yeah. Okay, so put it down and just drag. Yeah, we could do that. So I'll strip one of the other beds and get to work tying sheets off on the table legs.
Well, let me just say, your memory does serve that it's a short hallway between where Nazus is and that dwarven forge, and there's infinite items in there that can be used to craft a litter to carry this person.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so recalling that, then I'll say that we should take a trip to the forge, and we can get the tools necessary to to make an actual litter.
While I'm making one of my trips to fill up Nazus, I'm gonna ask Graham to reprovision our supplies from what's available in the room, because I think we spent a few days in that labyrinth and ate a few times.
Yeah, we did.
Okay, I'll get to it.
Okay. All right.
As I'm feeding Nazus, I'm gonna become concerned about all of the dead elves and dwarves that we found in the labyrinth, and I'm gonna ask Azus whether those were alive when they went in, and whether or not they're stuck in some sort of a tortured existence where they come back to life only to be tortured to death again.
Yeah, so he's chewing when you ask him that, and then his eyes get sort of distant for a bit, and then he says, truthfully, I have no idea. Maybe the whole place was crafted for my benefit alone, and they were all constructs, but maybe it serves as a hell for many who remain trapped in there. It's impossible for me to know. I learned a lot about magic, but that's beyond my skills.
Okay. Yeah, that's something that's going to kind of weigh on my mind as we get ready to leave.
What kind of a role do you want to try and fashion a litter, Brandon?
Well, survival would be perfect for it.
All right. Give that a shot.
Or Graham's used rope would help. That
Yeah.
could do it too.
If Rohan has a minute in between his trips, I'll ask him. Like, I'll have wood, various pieces of wood and like some rope or twine just spread out, and you can tell that I'm just doing a horrible job at putting this together. And I'll ask him. I was like, I'm trying to make something to carry this guy, and so far, this is what I got. Do you have any input, or can you help?
I'll say, yeah, I used to make those kinds of things to bring back game that was too large after a hunt. Give me just a moment.
You'll notice, like, all I've been able to accomplish, somehow I have the rope tied around one of my legs rather than one of the table legs, and I've cut way too much wood into too small of pieces.
So yeah, that was my role.
Yeah, so with that, you can get a pretty good Boy Scout litter put together.
Yeah, and I'll say it's not the best I can do, but with what we have available, it'll work.
So is that you guys in the forge grabbing that stuff?
Yeah, we'll run to the forge and grab that stuff.
All right. So that's you in there. So when you first came in, this stairway down here that you entered by, that's completely, like, you remember there was a stairway there. There's not anymore.
Yeah, that had been. Didn't it close itself off?
Yeah. But up here by these, here, let me just get right here in the wall, there is now that wall there has been moved aside, and there's a staircase there that leads up. It turns sharply north and heads up.
Okay, I'll make note of that, and I'll wonder out loud if that was where Kirk the ogre may have gone.
Okay.
Yeah, but we'll gather up whatever we need to as quickly as possible, so that if Kirk is not actually gone, and this is some sort of trick, that it's not just me and Rohan in here to face him.
Okay.
And then we'll make our way back.
Okay, so in short order, you get a litter together, and you guys are ready to move out.
And I'll make mention before we start to come back in that there's fairly obvious signs of where Kirk went once he got to the forge.
Well, you didn't see that. You just saw that the room seems to have rearranged itself. and you're in a place with, I mean, even before you got into the actual labyrinth, things were rearranging themselves. So,
Oh, okay. I get what you're saying now. Okay. Sorry, I thought that he had like pulled a secret door open and left it open was what you were saying.
oh yeah, no, there's no evidence of that.
Okay, then I will take back that statement and marvel at how the uh, how this place continuously changes itself and how big of a pain it must have been to actually live in here.
Yeah. So when it becomes clear that that's where you guys are going to end up heading, Nazus, he starts pushing himself through that hallway to get into the forge. And so that's where he'll wait.
Okay.
All right. So what do you guys want to do?
Well, once we get that other guy loaded up, imagine we'll make our way back to the forge and um, probably go back into the normal order. Does that sound about right, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds good to me.
Okay.
I'll be
All right.
dragging the human.
Okay. All right. So then in the forge now, you see what I've said. This stairwell where I've placed Graham doesn't exist anymore. And instead, there's one where that big red circle is. That wall's gone, and the stairwell cuts. You step in, and the stairwell cuts sharply north. So you can see that it heads up pretty steep incline. And Graham, you're going to go first?
Yeah, I believe so.
All right.
Be careful, Graham. That caster is up there somewhere, I'm sure.
Will do, Fenrith. I'll move silently as I go along.
All right. Go ahead and make your roll. All right.
I'll be right
Yeah.
behind him,
Okay.
also moving silently.
All right.
I'm going to give them about 10 feet before I come along.
Okay. And then Zeus says, once he sees that you guys are trying to be stealthy, he says he'll wait a few minutes and then he'll come up because he's going to be really loud. He says, my armor's going to screech against the stone and cause sparks the whole way up. So I'll wait for a time and then I'll follow. All right. So you guys are sneaking your way up the stairs as best you can. And these stairs are pretty steep. And they just go up, and they've got a gentle leftward curve to them, very gentle. And you walk and you walk and you walk, and step after step after step, and it just keeps going around in these big, wide, lazy circles, always up, and it would be, let's see, okay, so it would take you about 3 hours of nothing but stone steps with the walls close in and the ceiling giving you a little bit of space, but the walls at some points they sort of seem to press in on you, and eventually after some time you see a light. You can't see where it's coming from. You just see that things have lit up a little bit. And then eventually when you do see the light, you're looking out into clear blue sky. And Graham, so as you're moving along and you're walking towards that light, you can start to make out other details like little birds, a cloud here and there. You can start to smell the ocean. You start to hear the cries of gulls. You hear the sound of a really strong wind. So that's what you hear and see. And you're about, I'd say, 50 feet away from the end of the staircase. Do you want to do anything special there?
Well, I'll maintain caution, but the smell of the salt water is too nostalgic for me, and I think I'll be silently weeping, not making any noise or not any hitching, blubbering or anything like that, but if someone were to look at me, they'd just see my cheeks would be wet with tears.
Okay. All right. So finally you break out of the stone and you find yourself atop a really, really large, wide, basically flat stone pillar. And out to the south, you can see endless ocean forever. Where you come up on this pillar, you walk out and you're right on the eastern edge of it. So if you step 10 feet to the east, you'd fall right off this thing. And so over in that direction, you can actually see the home of the hero and the lighthouse, and beyond it, the village of Cradle. So right now, it's mid-morning. You can see the dots on the ocean of the Cradle fishermen out there on their boats bringing in fish. And so this thing is about 300 feet diameter, and it's been worn smooth by the rain and wind over who knows how long. And right in the center of it, there are these four massive, unbelievably huge stone statues of rocks, birds, great big birds, and all of them are sort of the alignment you had when you were working on the pedestal, where you were the four sides all facing each other. That's what they look like. So as you look at these birds, you notice that they've got these interesting saddles on them, but that's all stone too. So it's like the most incredible carving ever. But you know from that vision you had that these were real and they turned to stone. So these were the rocks that the heroes used to ride on the wind. And also, another thing that happens as you step out is a couple dozen other rocks flap their wings and leap over the side and take flight. And one thing that you note is that all the rocks that took off flying, they're the size that you expect them to be, the around the average size. But these ones that are stone are much larger. And that's it. That's all you see up there.
Okay, I'll
So
go ahead, Jessup.
once I see the lighthouse, I'm going to start laughing, kind of hysterically, and grab Graham and embrace him and say, "We're home. We can see our home."
Yeah, it's a pretty powerful feeling you've got. It's right now that the weight of all the time you spent underground and in that labyrinth, it suddenly dawns on you now that it's over, and the emotions are pretty powerful. I'll leave it up to you how you react to them.
Yeah, it's so close, isn't it, Rohan? We should call the others up so they can see it too.
Kind of like how Graham started to get misty-eyed and tear up. I'm going to be doing the same thing, and just kind of stop for a second and let the sun shine on my face. But I'll say they're coming along. They'll be here soon.
So I guess I would be the next one up there, and I'm getting into the actual sunlight. That's that's kind of a jarring thing after so much artificial light, and like if you'd spent days inside the house playing a new game, and then you go outside for the first time where it's overwhelming bright, even though it's the same amount of sunshine as always. But after adjusting a bit and seeing, I'm assuming that you guys are still looking out towards Cradle at this point.
Yeah.
All right, yeah. So seeing that they're looking out towards that direction, I'll go over to see what it is, and just take it in silence. And even though it's such a distance away, I'm just trying to scan for, even if I can tell if there's anything different about it. I don't fully expect to see anything, but I'm hoping that it all looks the same as what I can picture in my head if I was this far away. Because my main concern with what we did in that was that it was going to somehow ruin or alter the town.
Okay. All right. So we'll answer that in a minute. What about you, Casimir?
I think climbing for 3 hours while dragging someone kind of kills the moment for me. So I get up there and kind of squint my eyes and kind of just fall like down onto my knees type of thing, just exhausted. Let the breeze and the salt air kind of wash over me, and maybe drain a couple water skins.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So yeah, you're standing looking over the edge, and you can see the things I've described already. And then behind you, you hear this terrible screeching and grunting. And Nazus finally pulls himself out, and he stands up, and his hooves sound blasphemous on the stone as they scrape. And he's grunting and sweating, and he's breathing heavy, and it's sort of a distraction for a beautiful moment. And so you have a flash of irritation, but then he stops moving, and he just looks around in awe. He closes his eyes and breathes in as deeply as he can. And Fenrith, as for here, so that's about where you guys are. It's a very loose approximation. Obviously, your tokens are much larger than they would be, but that's where you are. Everything looks as you remember it, Fenrith, with only one exception, that being in the midst of the Angry Mountain range, you can see some smoke rising.
Okay. So yeah, and that kind of scanning around. I'll spend a little bit more time looking at Cradle until see the that plume coming up. And is it white smoke or black smoke?
Well, it's the smoke that a mountain has when a volcano is active.
Oh shoot. Okay.
So it's not like there's someone with a campfire. It's like the largest peak itself, you can see smoke and a little bit of ash coughing out here and there.
Okay, so
It's
now
not
what?
it's not something that hasn't been seen before.
Okay, I was going
It's
to
just
say,
never.
is that normal or?
Yeah, I mean it does it from time to time. It's never erupted, and as far as you know.
Called the Angry Mountain for a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll make mention of it. I know that it happens, but if it's enough to, I would imagine that even though it's a normal occurrence, that it's still probably talked about in the village a little bit. So I'll make mention that that the mountains or that the angry mountains have decided to come alive at our escape from the underground there.
So Nazus comes over to stand next to you, and he looks out and he says, "Look, a village."
I'll tell him that's Cradle. That's our home. I'm trying to worry out the problem though of how we're going to get down from here.
He says, "You have a beautiful home. Smell this air. What are these massive birds?"
Oh, those are rocks. They make their home up here, and I'll tell them a little bit about the story of the heroes, as how they used to. It said that they used to ride these, and they soar above everybody on these massive birds. Yeah, if only we had some right now. And I'm going to start doing a mental calculation of if we would even have enough rope or things we could fashion into rope to try and get down from here.
Okay. Well, not even close.
Yeah.
You know, just from some mental math, not anywhere near. So this pillar that you're on is the tallest of these pillars in the rock cliffs, and you're estimating it might be a mile to the ground.
Yeah, I guess for Fenrith's case here is that he hasn't quite put two and two together, that he's a hero and the heroes used to ride the rocks. So he's still trying to use more, I guess, layman's means of trying to figure out a way down. But it will dawn on him after a little, after like, there's no way that we're going to be able to get down from here. It's like we're going to have to go back down into the labyrinth to find a way out. And then, it kind of dawns on him, and I'll wander over to those statues.
Okay. What about the rest of you?
Yeah, I'll be like, hey, those are the ones from our vision. And I'll join Fenrith in examining them.
Right. So as you approach, they are in that roosting position where their wings are folded, but even still, they tower above you. They tower above even Zeus. They make all of you seem small. You could easily walk in between the legs underneath. And what strikes you as you get close is just how lifelike they look. You can pick out individual feathers, things like that. So they have these interesting harnesses that wrap around like the front of the neck and behind the wings and whatever what would be probably leather straps, and then a seat on top that looks odd. Like you can't really make sense out of it how you would sit in it. But that's that. You can pick out, though, as you get closer, you just realize, without really even thinking about it, that you walked to a specific one. Each of you went to a different one. And it seems to you, as you get close to it and you're looking at it and rubbing your hands over the stone, it seems like a familiar animal.
Examining this and walking around it, I am going to make the comment out loud that I really wish that this wasn't in stone form, and I'm going to look for a way, if I can, to try and climb up into or onto its back or into that saddle area.
Yeah, it looks like it should be easy enough. Do a climb check.
And now he dies.
I'm not you, Justin.
Yeah, so you're able to find some handholds, because it's stone, so you can grab, feathers and whatever and pull yourself up. And with that check, you get yourself up onto it's like you go up the tail feathers and you get over its back, and then you can walk upright up towards the saddle, or what you think would be the saddle.
So yeah, I'm examining it from a top-down position now. And could I try and figure out how you would sit in this thing?
Yeah, you just couldn't see it very well from down there, so it looked confusing, but it's not. Although there is some weird-looking mechanism on the bottom of it. There's like a space between the bird and where you would sit, and you can't make any sense out of what it is because everything's stone. But you could walk up onto it and sit down. Now, I'll describe that this would put you, if you sat down where it is right now, it would put you right in front of the wings, which would leave the head sticking out, a few feet ahead of you. And then this thing has sort of like a track that runs all the way down to the beginning of the tail. So right to the other side, the back side of the wings. But as you touch it, it obviously doesn't move or anything because it's all stone, but you could sit down in it.
Yeah, I'll sit in it and see, kind of how it feels. Imagine myself as that, long ago hero.
Yeah. Okay. So as you sit down, you notice a few things. You can see a harness. It takes you a while to figure out what it is because it's all stone now, so it's in a weird jumble. But you sort of follow the lines, and you can see that it's like a harness. And then you can see that on one side of where you sit, there's a really large box that's also stone, but it's clearly like a chest, and it would be big enough for you to crawl into, as would be the size of it, and that's closed and turned to stone. So who knows what's in that? But then you sit on the chair and you sit upright in it, and you're looking out forward, and you can see the other birds, they're all arranged facing each other.
So, I mean, this,
But
I would imagine it's kind of exciting, right?
yeah,
And so, fears of how to get down kind of slip from the mind. And, I'm going to be like laughing and having an actual good time. And I'll tell these guys, like, man, you guys have got to get up on these things. This would have been incredible.
It looks fun to me. Graham will be laughing and be like, careful up there, Fenrith. How did you get up there?
I'll tell them, you got to go up its tail. That's the easiest way.
Yeah, I'll start climbing up it.
yeah. So you don't have any trouble either. Before long, you're sitting in the seat there in front of the right at the base of the neck.
I'll start pointing some of that stuff out. Like, it looks like there was this harness here, and there's a chest on this side. Who knows what that thing is for? But maybe it's got like meat and stuff in it for when it gets hungry, right? Just some absurd thing like that. I'll see if Casimir and Rohan have tried to climb up on theirs.
No, I'm probably close to the edge, kind of pointing out hunting grounds and stuff to Zeus, pointing out the farmlands where, he might be able to go and have the open plains, and just kind of telling him all the different things about the island.
Are you kidding? He's going to live in the hero house with us.
Well, you can't actually hear him because the wind is so loud up here.
Yeah, no, it's
He's
more
a
of
good
a joke
distance
than
away.
anything.
But Nazus has already become intrigued by these bird statues, so he starts wandering over there anyway.
I'm going to keep talking to him even though he's not there.
Okay. All right. What about you, Casimir? What do you want to do?
I'll take a look around them, like where they're looking towards the center of inscriptions, anything, that I don't know. Like I'm not the type of character that would just go and have fun. So
Right. Yeah.
climbing up on these rocks isn't interesting me right now, but they themselves are interesting. So
Yeah. Okay. So you don't see any inscriptions or anything like that. You do see when you're walking in that area and you look up and you can see where the harness sits on the bird from the underneath, like right in the center. You can see on that there's the hero sigil engraved into it, and Graham's and Fenrith, theirs matches the one that they got on. So they just guessed right or something. Who knows? But it is lit up.
okay.
Theirs are lit up.
I'll call out to Rohan and think that, and Rohan, I think you should probably listen to Fenrith here.
I'll say, what are we going to do with this sleeping naked guy?
I'll put him on the back of my bird.
Okay,
I'll keep him close because I don't
He'll
know.
definitely fit.
Yeah, but I don't know if there's a reason to take him up onto a statue just yet. But I figure Casimir, if he's seeing lit up stuff, he's figuring we're either probably getting teleported or something again.
Yeah. Okay.
Just put one of his hands onto the bird. That way, if the bird gets teleported, he should come with us.
And I'll point this out to Nazus, or whatever his name is.
The sigils, or
Yeah, that they're lighting up, and that
oh yeah,
something is probably going to happen if all four of them are lit.
okay. Well, I'll keep an eye on this human here.
Okay.
You go about your business.
I guess then I'll climb up mine.
Yeah, I'll give him the same advice that I gave Graham. Go up the tail, and then that's probably that's the easiest way I've found.
Yeah. Yeah, so in short order, he clambers up there, no problem.
Now, can I see those sigils from where I'm sitting, or are they too
Yeah.
far down? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if I can, when he gets up on his, when does it light up? Is it when he sits or when he gets onto it?
When he sits down.
Okay. So I'm just gonna make mental note of that too, and then watch Rohan.
You watch me stumble and fall my way up the bird, right? Right.
He either
So-
up the bird or down the tower.
Actually, you could have jumped off the cliffs, huh?
Yeah, I had actually thought about that for a second. But yeah, I'll try and clamber up the bird and see if the ranks I put to climb it pay off. Nope.
No.
Yeah, you just can't quite seem to get a handhold.
Okay.
Do you need
Nazu
help,
sees
Rohan?
you struggling, and he comes over and he says, "Here, let me help you." And he just tosses you up there.
When he throws me, I'm going to activate my ring of feather fall.
Okay. Yeah. Well, he didn't toss you that high, so you activate it, but it didn't have time to come into effect before you land on top of the bird there.
Yeah, it's just a reflex.
Yeah. But yeah, so you're up there.
Okay.
So
That seems
as
like
he
some
goes
big
to
stuff.
try and sit down, I'm gonna try and find any type of handhold that I can, knowing that these things are lighting up as we're sitting. I don't know
Okay.
what's going to happen, but I don't want to fall off if this thing starts to shake.
Yeah. Okay.
And I'll call out to Graham to hold on to the edge of the harness or something, whatever handhold
Yeah.
I have.
The seat has bars that you can hold on to on either side of it, so good handholds for that. Okay, Rohan, are you going to sit down?
Yep.
Okay, so you sit down, and anybody who's got the angle can see the sigil on his light up, and then you start to feel a familiar vibration from the amulet and a heat as it warms up, and then there's like a shaking you start to feel as if the pillar you're on is vibrating, and very slowly at first the stone starts to crack and the wind blows the dust away, and then rapidly, it like a forest fire, it sweeps over the mass of the whole bird and leaves behind it what was there before. And these birds, they take a step back, a couple steps back, and they stretch their wings and they stand to their full height and they flap their wings a little bit and they shake, and then they all screech at the same time, which is ear shattering this close to it. And you can see Nazus, he's got his hands against his ears as he stumbles away, dragging the unconscious human. Because when these birds stretch their wings out, they've got a 20-foot wingspan, 30-foot wingspan. So they stand up, and you can feel that the amazing power of the animal underneath you, and that sense of awe that it wouldn't even need to know you were there, and it wouldn't matter. But rather than take flight, after they stretch themselves out a bit, they fold their wings back up, and then they twist their heads around to look at each of you on their backs. And you can see a face that flashes through your mind, the memory of many different heroes, but it's a familiar face that past heroes have ridden these birds, and they seem to recognize you as well. So, as you're taking stock of the situation, now that everything has been turned back to normal, you can clearly see the harness there and where it attaches to the area you're sitting on. You can also see, and it doesn't take very much experimentation, that there are a couple levers on the side of the chair that you're sitting in, and you start messing with those, and one of them lets you move backward on that track, forward and backward, but it's still locked in place, so it's not going to fall off. It just lets you go forward and backward. And the other changes the configuration of your chair, so it'll lie flat, for example, rather than sitting up. And as you think about it, it makes a lot of sense that if the bird's flying with any speed, the closer you are to the animal, the better it is for you and the bird for aerodynamics, whatever.
Does a name come to mind with the familiar face?
No, it doesn't. But now that they're not stone anymore, you also notice that the one you're on, Fenrith, is well. First of all, the underside of these birds is all the same color, and it's like a whitish bluish look. But the top side is where their colors really deviate. And the one you're on has bright orange feathers from wingtip to wingtip and down its back. And the one that Casimir's on is just as brown as anything could be, but with green mixed in. And you can see that it's following the motif of the element there that you're on. So Graham's has it looks like the whole thing is as blue as the ocean.
Does it have a dent in its head, the same as Graham? Sorry.
No, it doesn't. And Rohan's is sky blue.
So I'll marvel, and not just the colors, but the fact that now I'm mounted on one of the birds of legend, and as that thing looks at me, this, even though it's exciting, and this is probably terrifying as well, and it turns and looks at me. I'm just going to stay as still as possible for a moment, looking back at it, wondering if it's gonna accept me or eat me, right? But just kind of gather my courage up, and is there can I tell how that harness straps in?
Well, so no, not just by looking at it. So you pick it up and you're looking, and we'll get back to you. What about you, Graham? How do you react to this?
Yeah, I suppose just in pure speechless wonder and terror, that's also a good mix, just as Fenrith. Although I won't hide exactly, I might reach out and try to ruffle the bird's feathers, if that's possible.
Yeah, you definitely can. And it's looking back at you with as friendly of a look as a raptor that eats whales could look at you. I mean, birds have a pretty ferocious look to them, but
it is terrifying to think of that, how big their heads are and how close they are to you right now.
Yeah.
Oh, right. The other thing, Graham, is that once you've got yourself into place and this has all happened, you feel a rustling in your backpack, and the cat sticks its head out and looks around and meows.
Oh, man, how'd you get in there?
Yeah, so she digs her way out and starts walking around. And the bird looks at her too, but she seems not to be concerned about this massive animal that could eat her on accident. And she finds a nice place, a nice soft area of feathers, and just curls up and goes back to sleep.
Well, that will be immensely reassuring to me in some way.
Okay, Rohan, how do you react to this? So you're the animal guy.
Yeah, when it turns and looks at me, I'm going to kind of do a calming gesture and then cast Speak with Animals.
Okay.
And once I've cast that, I'm going to kind of more formally introduce myself to the bird. Say, I understand that you were tied to the old heroes of legend, and we are descendants of that cause. I believe you've been waiting for us to waken you.
Okay, so you say this to the animal in the way that you do, and it looks back at you. This is a female, by the way. She looks back at you and she starts making some sounds, the screeching and clucking and all the different sounds she's able to make. But what she says is, "We know you. We've been waiting. We serve." So that's what she says. And she says it in a friendly way, almost motherly, as a matter of fact.
Okay.
Like she's comforting you. Make sense?
Yeah. And then I'll say something along the lines of, we don't know how to ride. Can you tell us how to ride correctly?
Okay. Yeah, so you get the sense that she's chuckling when you say that. Casimir, how did you react to this?
Probably with a thinly veiled panic, but trying to keep a calm exterior when they first awaken. And then I guess I'd kind of try to, like pat it, talk to it, make sure it doesn't eat me.
Right. Okay. All right. So you guys are doing this, acquainting yourselves with your birds in the various ways that you are. And then one more time, you feel a shock tear through you. And once again, images of past lives slide through your mind at such a speed that it quickly becomes impossible to tell in the moment which memories are yours and which belong to others, and even if there's a difference between the two. But these images all center on the riding the rocks, and so you'll have the visions of past flights and battles, and more than anything, you get the vision of floating so high above the ground that it becomes difficult to breathe, looking down at the land below. And you get images of an intense friendship and camaraderie, and it's so intense that it could even border on love, or as much as a bird can facsimilate that feeling. And you don't know how long this takes, but then as suddenly as it came, the visions are gone, and they leave you back trying to catch your breath on the top of these words, or these birds. And that's where we'll stop for the night.
Thanks.
So there's a couple things out of game I want to tell you about. So what these visions that you just had, these visions now have given you all of the information that it's possible to be passed on to you by previous heroes.
This has been a Death Watch production. Thank you for listening.